Welcome to Authentic Ecstasy Podcast, a place where we explore our innate, intimate freedom. And today I have with me Shivagam. Hello, Shivagam.
Hello, Elisabeth. How are you?
I'm very happy for you to be here. So let's begin this first episode in which we're going to be sharing about what is freedom.
That's a good question. What is freedom? What the hell is freedom?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, I guess that if we look at in a dictionary, we will get a definition of what freedom is, but it's not what we are looking here. So when we go into freedom, it's such a huge and beautiful word that is so difficult to just narrow it down to a single definition. If I go into my spiritual feeling of what freedom is, I would say that it's when you have nothing that prevents you to be the divine soul, the divine being that we are, the divine being that it's incarnated in the flesh and be able to behave like that. So that is like the highest or one of the highest way of seeing it, of what prevents me to be a divine incarnation walking in this life. Everything that prevents me from that would be what is not free in me.
I loved your definition, by the way. The non-obstructiveness of our essence.
Exactly.
Who we are, and to be able to live as an expression and a creation that is in all of us the same. And I remember traveling through France, and I saw the village, the city, the town called Toulouse. And the words that came is like freedom is nothing else to lose.
That's true.
So it matched with that. And when we are not afraid of losing, we just can risk everything. And of course, we all have programs, limitations, fears, because it's part of our human condition. And when we move through those doors, which I believe is what we're going to be exploring, how to do that, then there is bigger, larger capacity of this experience of coming through in essence.
I love the way that you say non-structure, because that is like freedom is such a big word that in the moment that we start to put rules or a structure, kind of start to stop being freedom. Then there is also the misunderstanding, like sometimes believe that people believe that freedom is to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and do not care for the consequence. So there is something that I always like to start saying. There is a difference between freedom and anarchy. So in the typical phrase, it's my freedom ends when yours start. For me to be that divine incarnation or to be that empowered person, I should not need to cause suffering to anyone else. Because if that is the way for me to get free, there is something wrong in there.
Very big point, which I'm sure we're going to cover later on. You know, when you say freedom stops where the other person starts, and then we can go into, well, then I am repressing, suppressing, and then why am I responsible for his, hers? So we need to distill all of that. But what I hear you saying is that freedom is also needs to be accompanied with compassion and love.
Yes,
and that's
100%.
Inseparable. Otherwise, it becomes the way I was going to define what you were saying is like outer freedom, which is what the culture would say. I have money. I have the will to access and do whatever I want. So it's just external freedom. But every millionaire that I have encountered, they don't experience inner freedom, which is the one that we
I do
looking.
agree.
So it is not, it gives an illusion, and people who don't have money, they envy, because they say, if I had money, I could travel around the world. But what would it be to travel around the world and feel full of obstructions?
Exactly.
You know, after a while, you lose the excitement of that being able, acquisitional power.
But money is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's just a tool to access to some experiences, but it's not the real freedom, as you are saying, because the real freedom comes from inside.
Yes.
But money does not give you freedom, give you access to resources.
Or power. It looks
Exactly.
like it. Like I remember watching this interview with Will Smith, the actor, and he came from a very poor background, and and then he had all this money through his acting, and he was revealing in the interview that every night he would, before going to bed, he would count and look at all his account, how much money he had, because he felt insecure. Because that's something we're going to touch on, because this is very deep, right?
That is the inner.
He couldn't go through the conditioning he had, that in his family there was such poverty and restriction. So he continued living with that. And you would think from the outside, why are you counting your money? You can't even count it all. You're going to be awake all night. So he was revealing the anxiety that caused him.
As you say, I teach mostly in the Hispanic, Latin American countries. When I started teaching there many years ago, I found amazing. I'm Spanish, so we have a slightly different culture. But what I found funny at that time is that so many people are used to just live by the day, that they have less insecurity of money than a millionaire person, a rich person.
Yes.
Because they are so used to just have what they have for the day, and they are on that life. And it's like, okay, I have 20 pesos, €1. I'm good for the day. I can go to work and I can go back from work. Yeah. That's enough.
Well, that's back to that word, nothing else to lose.
Exactly. That's the point that you were saying. When you are just escaping the day, saving the day, one day by day, they finally found peace in there. And that is something that I had to learn from them, because I'm Spanish. And I used to be an architect, so I had that thought of I have to save money, I have to have background money just in case, saving and all of that. And when I arrived there and I started to see how happy they were, like I remember an experience of a friend that he was like, "Oh, I'm a bit short for the next day until I get my salary." And in my mind, I was thinking there were like 8 days left for his salary. In my mind, I was like, maybe he has like 40, 50 euros. So I asked him, okay, so how much money do you have until you get paid? And he answered me like, I have 5 euros. 5 euros for the next 8 days in Mexico. So I was like panicking, like, what do you mean that is enough? Oh, yes. The subway costs like 20 pesos. So I'm going to spend like 3 euros from here that I get paid. And he was so happy. Like nothing, everything is going to be okay. I have 5 euros and in 8 days I will get my salary. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Here you have another 5. Just make sure in case you need anything. But that peace, he was more in peace with having 5 euros than me seeing him having only 5 euros. So it was like, okay, who is more free right now at that moment? Who was more free?
Yeah.
He was happy having his 5 euros, or me that I have a bit more than that, but I was in the fear of that is not enough.
Yes.
Something might happen to you and you might be in a problem. So that's one of those examples where it's not about money. It's about attitude. It's about your belief. It's about...
Yeah. And here is a big subject, because we live in a culture, which we're going to be talking at some point, of how we are programmed. The social media is helping even more to live in the fear of lack, and that we don't have enough. And it doesn't matter how much you have, it's never enough. And we know that. And it's an insidious feeling. And we're going to explore, I feel, you and I, what is the source of not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the grief, the pain, the rage, the greed, the addiction, everything that follows from the opposite of that story. So then we look at our world and this lack of freedom, that's why we are talking about freedom, I
Mm-hmm.
believe,
Yeah.
at least me, here. It's that if we don't question that, we are eating each other up.
Exactly.
And it's not just objects, it's treating each other like objects, it's consuming each other, because I have an insatiable hole that is my innate freedom. I'm not getting in touch with it. So acquiring outside in, and what we're going to be looking is inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find that freedom, wow, what happens to the outer world? So within, so without. And so that's what we are going to be exploring.
Do you remember any experience, personal experience, where you felt that you were really free? Do you remember like one moment of your life where you felt, now I'm really free? I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
Tell us.
This has been one of my biggest motivator for all my life, because I've had this experience in different intensities at different stages of my life, beginning from very early age, let's say from 7 is the earliest memory. And then as I grew older, I saw the reoccurring pattern of reaching that place that there was nothing external, but I felt invincible. And invincible because I had this sensation of life coursing through my veins. And it's like, I am alive. Yeah. But it's different to know that you're alive than to experience life. And when you experience life and you're connected to life itself, then you are in the source. There's a tap. It's like going directly to the fountain. And there is an abundance which is unimaginable, unthinkable for me, the little personality, my little program that I was conditioned to be. And that gave me such vista that I moved away from everything I knew. And I just single focused to keep plugging into the source. So that is so many times. And I can see that it's like breath. It expands and it contracts. And sometimes I have this unquestionable connection.
Do you remember what walls or resistances did you break?
What resistances did I break?
For you to have that experience?
This is the thing. For me, in my case, because it happened from so young, it happened to me. I didn't have to do anything. So I never, although I have my practices and I teach a lot of practices to break free from physical, emotional, energetic, mental conditioning to be able to tap into who we are. I've never had these experiences through a practice. But the practice, what it does is just cleans the vessel for the experience to occur.
Do you feel that you are a free being?
Okay, that's a beautiful question.
Are you free? Since we are speaking about freedom, are you free, fully free?
Absolutely, absolutely fully free. That is never out of my consciousness, this consciousness, because of what I just shared in the first question. And I see myself grabbing obstructions. And then there is the moment in which I have a different relationship at this point with what I do, how I am with the obstruction. But there is never a moment that I'm not seeing contracting. It's like the contraction is happening and there is different degrees of choice. And
that's a good point.
that is what I experience is degrees of freedom, is degrees of choice of how fast I can move from the inherent personal collective contraction of lack of of loss of freedom. So I'm down to waters and tandem, and sometimes I'm just like on that channel. So that's my response. So yes, I am in. We are all free, but how many people are experiencing it full time
and being in charge of their freedom?
Being in charge of it, and that's what we do. You and I are doing here,
exactly.
Giving the keys, the tools to be in charge of your freedom. And we haven't been taught it at school. A lot of people who are following freedom through spiritual practices, they can, or plant medicine. There's so many ways now in which there's a bigger urge to seek freedom. They don't necessarily give you the keys as to how to manage the obstruction. They give you the keys to connect to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my speciality, not just plugging you in, because you're already plugged in. There's nothing we can do. You're always free, everyone, all the time. But how do you actually experience it moment to moment?
Yeah, that's true.
So over to you. Same question. First time of freedom, what's your experience? You have a particular memory of that?
Yes, I do. For me, it was a specific moment. I'm an architect. I was working in Spain. I had a good salary. I was living the luxury life of an architect. And at some point, I felt like this is not what I feel. I felt empty. I was 25, something like that. And I have everything that a person wants with 40 years old. I have a beautiful apartment. Everything was designed. I see the sunrise on the sea every day in the morning. Good salary. I had everything. But I felt empty. And I was like, what is life about now? To just keep getting more money, I didn't feel satisfied. So I decided to go from one extreme to the other. I quit my job. I give away all my belongings. And I did a luggage with 3 pants, 3 t-shirts, 2 pair of shoes. And I took a ticket to Mexico, a single ticket to Mexico. And went there with $1,500 in my account, and that was it. So it was a huge contrast from a luxury life to going into almost poverty by choice, not by life. I chose it myself. And I remember that when I arrived to Mexico City, the taxi that took me at the airport asked me, where are we going? And I say, I don't know. I don't know the city. I don't know anyone here. I've been on holiday there like a few years before. And I remember an area where there was a cheap hotel. So that was the only thing that I was able to say, let's go to the cheapest hotel that you know in that area. And he took me to one that it was really, really cheap, way too cheap. But the next morning, when I woke up and I went into the street, I was walking to find something to eat. And it was the very first time in my life that I felt I have finally nothing to do. I don't have responsibilities. I don't have to follow what society has taught me. I don't have to follow what I learned from my parents. I don't have to follow nothing or anyone. And I was walking on the street, and instead of being in a panic attack, I was like so blissful and happy that was one of those important moments where I felt, okay, all of that, I broke all this system of belief, all of those ideas of what I should be doing next. I tried to be normal. I tried to do what...
You did it well.
Yeah, I tried well. I was good at school. I went to university. I had a good career. I had a good work. I had a good apartment. I tried dating a girl. Didn't work either. So it was like, no, that is not for me. That is not what life is. So I was following every step, where the next was getting married and getting children. But I was like, this is not me. I don't feel that that's me. So I had to dare to just remove all of that and find my own way of living life.
This is so beautiful, because I'm connecting. I don't know if we're going to be talking about that, but I just want to mention that some of us that say this question, this is not me. Mm-hmm. This is a profound question. Yeah. Then who are you? And that's what you did. I have to get rid of what is not me.
Just find myself.
Just to find myself.
Yeah, because at that moment, it was not, this is me. No, I didn't know yet.
No.
It was like, now I know that was not me.
Yes.
And now I want to discover who I am, how I am.
And that's the beginning of
And that is the beginning, the opening door for freedom. Yes. And to understand that life is not like a path that you are following one step and then the second and then the third.
I found the same moment, which I was 15 and a half, and I came from a very abundant family. I had everything at such a young age. I had a boyfriend that adored me. I had a community of friends. We were having fun, and I felt the same. This is not me. That's why the question. And I managed to gather the money, and I took a flight to India. But listen to this, because I knew that India, I didn't know why, may have an answer for me, because I read a book when I was 13 about the third eye. And so on the plane stopped in Dubai, and I didn't speak English, but I didn't know why the plane stopped there. So I couldn't ask anyone, and I said, Delhi, and they said no. So at that point, the sun was going down or up. I didn't know, because of the time difference from Spain to Dubai. So I didn't know it was going to be day or night. I didn't know where we were in the world, because I wasn't very good in geography.
Yeah, of course.
And everybody was like,
there were no cell phone.
There were no cell phone. There was nothing. And I didn't know what, I was looking at the currency, and it was all foreign to me, because they were very different, the people, Arabs. And I didn't know what to do. And I sat in the airport, and I didn't know a day, night, where I was or why I was I ever going to get to Delhi? All I knew is that wasn't Delhi. So I sat there, and in that moment, everything crumbled, because I was alone in the world, and I didn't know what the future, there was only now. And that was such a profound unknown, because every known was taken away. And then when I cried, I cried a lot. And then this man approached me. I mean, I was very young, I felt very old, by the way. And this man came, and he spoke to me in English, an Indian man. And he tried to, and I said, I don't understand. And then he spoke into French, and I understood French. And I said, and I explained my situation, and he told me what was happening, and he said to follow him, because he was also going to Delhi. So I had a chaperone. Life sent me a chaperone.
That is like the magic of life, the magic of consciousness.
Yes, because I surrendered into the unknown, and then I didn't obstruct the angel. And then I sat next to him. I was like this. And he put a lot of fear on me. He began with the program, and he questioned why such a young girl was going alone, that it was very dangerous. Delhi city alone, money, I was going to be stolen, a woman, a girl. And I didn't mind all what he said, because I had the focus. And that's the will. And that's probably what we're going to be talking when we talk about masculine and feminine power. And I was focused. And yes, I was getting diverted. I was being told his beliefs. None of them came through. And true. It was like amazing. Obviously I had many tests, but nothing of what he said. I wasn't unsafe arriving in Delhi and what followed. So we're saying here that there is a moment, because when you stepped out in Mexico and you on the taxi as well, you said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is key. It's like, I am not this, and I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. And that I think that you just pointed all this that we are talking is not prepared. And I love that, because I don't like when everything is so prepared that it doesn't flow. And you got a point that I feel that is really important. And it's that feeling of so many people that they have, this is not me. This is not the life that I want to live. But it's such a frightening question, because it is about challenging everything that you are doing, that you believe. And it's a question that so little people dare to do to themselves. And when they do, there is so much fear of saying, what if I discover that this is not me, that I'm not living the life that I want to live? And when I explain that to my students, I say, well, I understand that it's difficult. I had to do it myself. And often people tell me, yeah, but now I'm 40 or 50 or whatever age. Say, there's no difference. Every single day that you are living is a day that you have lost. It's a day that has passed. It doesn't matter your age. I understand that it's not about if you have a baby saying, oh, I'm gonna
get rid of it.
Get rid of it. No, it's not about that. But having that feeling, making yourself that question, is this me? Do I feel like I'm living the life that I want to live?
Well, this is a very important point. And the kind of people that you and I are, we took that courage and we stepped forward. We both were very young. Now, what you just said, but I have a mortgage, I have 5 children, I have a job, I have responsibility. So I can imagine, I can't possibly do that. Yeah, you can do it when you're 15 and a half or 24, you're just beginning your life. But my question is it's a very difficult point, because most of us that we have made choices, become an architect, chosen that person, chosen that town, chosen those clothes, chosen to have children, whatever it is, by the program. And then you have manifested, like you wanted to be an architect. Who chose that? How much that was told by the environment around you? In order for you to be happy, you have to have a career, and then that will ensure that you have money, and date a girlfriend.
Yeah, that was 100% my father.
Exactly. So your father, your mother, the society tells you who you are, and then you go and you implement it.
I took it.
And then, of course, you just left a beautiful apartment with a sunrise from the ocean, a sunset, and, and maybe a girlfriend, maybe whatever. But the point is, now what? That I have built my house. This is the question. How do because I know it doesn't feel right. It's not me, because something in me chose it that is programmed. Now I have all of that. I'm responsible. We said before that freedom and compassion has to come together. So that means not anarchy, which is no responsibility. I am 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, I'm 40, whatever, and I don't want to live this life.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm 80, I've been totally programmed. Can I still come in to find my inner freedom?
100%.
Yeah. Do I have to throw the baby and the job like we did?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had to abandon the life that many people would have liked to have. You as well.
Yeah.
So I really would like to touch on that. How do we, if we are at this example, that we realize, and not everybody does, because as I said, we have to have the question, this is not me, but I've built that me. I have an identity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we're not courageous, it's that I have to know how, if I want to be compassionate to my wife, to my husband, to the children, to all the people who depend on me.
Society, like I say, my father and everything, put us ideas, structure. But I like to feel that at the end, it was me that I put that idea.
Yeah.
So even I always say that society, culture, family gives you a suggestion or an intense suggestion. And then we took it because we didn't know otherwise. So when I say that it was my father always wanted the best for me and my sister. So I'm happy with him. We have a wonderful relationship, but it was him trying to overcompensate his own fears of life that pushed me into, okay, you have to go to university, you have to have a degree. So I understand all of that. I do not regret studying architecture. I don't regret a single step.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that at some point I dare to do the question to myself of, is this what I want to live?
Yes.
And I find that everyone has to do that question. It doesn't matter. It's not about how many responsibility they have. So it's never late to make yourself that question and then see what can you do.
Yes. So this is what we're going to be looking, the difference between the program and what the first part, which is also valuable because there is no other choice than that. And to welcome the question of, is this me? And the finding out that it is not. But through that, choosing that has led you to be an architect, to build a family. There is no regrets. It's not that it was wrong. It's that was your first starter to your becoming. And actually what led you to I am not this is through contrast. It's like you had to become
100%.
Your father, the culture, that time pushed you into what is expected and you did it well, And in my case, the other thing that comes is some people have this quality of observation, like scientists and some people love to observe. And I was one of those. So I observed the adults with this abundance, like the millionaires we were talking before. And I thought, it's not working for them. It's not working. So I observe it rather than follow. And then in that observation, that's what led me to that question. If this is not good, because they're not really having the transmission of freedom, then what is it? Right? So that's the kind of, so the point I want to make here is that there is a contrast that needs to happen and a quality of observation. And I want to say at the outset, probably the people who are watching this, they have all these questions, they have this hunger, but a lot of people just don't. And this is absolutely beautiful too, to not be interested, to find these qualities of freedom, of what is masculine power, what is feminine power.
That is freedom too.
That is freedom too, exactly. And so we're not, at the outset in this series, this is not the best solution. This is not the highest or the lowest. This is our profile, our interest, as if we were architects and we would talk about the fine art of building structures. But it's not the best thing in the world, only for architects. So who are we? What would you define us? What's our interest?